I'm going to turn on the caption. Oh, I don't need captions in this class. As well as share screen. I don't know that I have any sound in this one, but we're going to share it. Okay. All right. Everything should be up and running. Hopefully, we got things going. All right. I had the modules. I'm kind of moving towards. I like showing this kind of sets, kind of the tone for what we're going to do for the day. Today is the 9th. Which hopefully is right in here. So I'm going to go over the rest of chapter 10, finish it. I started, as you might remember, I started it last Thursday, and then I'm going to finish today. I'm going to finish that, and we did the midterm. Along the lines of the midterm, kind of administrative kind of things, I have looked at it. I have not gone through and analyzed it. I think, I've mentioned a time or two to a few, maybe, I don't know if the class or at least just some students. One of the things I do after the exams, I go through and I can look at all the questions and say, oh, wow, everybody did well on this question, or wow, look at everybody did really poorly on this one. So, and that's kind of the basis. Sometimes I do reuse the tests periodically. And so what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll either delete the question and put a different one in, or I'll edit the wording because sometimes it's there, and oh man, that's ambiguous as heck. No wonder people missed out a lot. So then I'll make changes to it. And I'll definitely, I don't know what the deal is with that one question that says in the parentheticals, it says delete me. For sure, I'm going to go and edit that one either. And I'm not sure, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm either going to delete the parenthetical or change that question out. The other thing I'm going to do, I always download. So I look at the questions, I see how many, looks like bad, questions perhaps. And then I look at what the averages are, and I download it into a spreadsheet, and I do, some manipulation of it to see what the grades are. And then that's what I use. All that stuff is what I use as the basis of what I do for an adjustment. So I haven't done that yet. I'll probably do that either this afternoon or tomorrow, probably. I don't know, probably this afternoon. I think my afternoon, right as of right now, my afternoon feels wide open, but that has a tendency to change very quickly some days. So anyway, so that's kind of that's the deal on the midterm. So I will be doing that hopefully this afternoon. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Nothing else. I'm just gonna, like I said, go over chapter 10. Got most of it done the last Thursday, so I'm pretty sure this will be real easy to get through. Probably end up fairly short lecture today. So that we'll get through it. The other thing I have received, make sure your groups. Hopefully, I made the announcements on during the time of the midterm. So hopefully all the groups are now starting to get together. I've received a few emails with a few more topics and a few more questions. So I know there is a little more activity. If you're still having trouble getting a hold of your team members, let me know and I can shake it loose. Hopefully, send them a warning, a nasty gram. Hey, get together with them. But hopefully things are moving along. Groups 1 and 2, and I think I'll have to go to the announcements. Groups 1 and 2 need to, let me see here. I got it in here. The dates, I have it here. Groups 1 and 2 have to have submitted once again. You just need to record it and then submit it on the discussion board. And I haven't created that yet. I keep saying I'm going to do that, and I haven't done it yet. So I'm going to create a discussion board for that in here for you to submit your recordings. And I'll I'll do that either today or tomorrow as well. I keep promises. But nonetheless, groups 1 and 2 it's a Wednesday. Make sure you recognize it's a Wednesday. 11/22 for groups 1 and 2. Groups 3 and 4, Wednesday the 29th, and then groups 5 and 6 need to put their recording up midnight on Wednesday the 6th. Hopefully that makes sense. If there's let me know if you have any questions. If that's not clear, and I will certainly do what I can to clarify that. Otherwise, I go back to the modules, and I think that's all the administration kind of stuff I have. All right. Let me switch over to the PowerPoint slides. Hopefully you can see these. Stretched the way I like it. I think I left off right about here. I wasn't sure which I was going back and I can't remember exactly where I ended, but I think it was here. I think I went over this chart, the benefits, and then I think I was here is where I left off. If I repeat it, time-wise, it shouldn't be a big deal, but if I repeat it, oops, hopefully I say the same thing or some of the same stuff. Anyway, close. Anyway, so all right, so once again, ERP systems. Geez, I can't even. Man, this is gonna be a long day. Let me see something. Enterprise resource programs are what they stand for, but I was going to look at something else. So let me just go forward. Enterprise resource programs. Basically, and as a reminder, what they are is a across the board whole organizational. Usually have an internal database that feeds all the different areas, but it covers the entire organizations. And some of the benefits of them, because you're covering, it's more efficient. You can, a lot of times you can make changes more easily. So those are some of the benefits. I think that was the last chart. But there are also limitations. Some of the things that are limitations to an organization. I'm going to mute my phone. Sorry. All right. All right, so there are some limitations. They are built on best practices in most cases. The best practices being a lot of the organizations, the big guys anyway, the Oracles and some of the large ERP implementers went out and they started looking, how do organizations run? How do they usually do their accounting? How do they usually do their manufacturing? And they built it based on talking to the organization's best practice or how they do it. And so because they did this, and I'm going to talk probably a lot about this in the next couple charts as well, because they did this, one of the things that makes it difficult is in a lot of cases, it's based on best practices and the way these companies. So they built these ERP systems based on a very specific way to do things. And some organizations, once you buy this, it's like, well, you got to do it their way now. And that may or may not fit your current organization. And that can be very it's change. It can be very disruptive to your organization because a lot of people, perhaps have to learn how to do it based on the way the ERP system itself does it. So that could be difficult, and that is kind of a limitation of it. And then the last bullet here: ERP systems are complex, expensive, and time-consuming. This is true, especially in larger organizations. There's so many pieces and parts, as you can well imagine. You're a larger organization, you're a big, complex organization, all building, putting all these pieces in place that talk to each other, that are well integrated, and you can grab the data you need and do all the stuff you need to do, and connect with maybe vendors and stuff. Very, very complex, very difficult, cost a lot of money. And maybe in large organizations, they can bear that expense because they, long run, it's gonna work out for them. However, it's kind of tougher if you're a mid or small organization to go to that full scale. Might be a little more difficult. It might be cost prohibitive for you. But the thing, and I would definitely agree with that. But over the last few years, I'd say the ERPs have been around 10, 15 years now. Some, quite a bit of the time. There's a lot of small players now that they're built. Their ERP systems are built for the small to mid-sized kind of organizations. So they're not as complex, they're not as expensive. They're probably going to still have all those same kind of constraints that might be limiting because it's hard to get integrated and everything put together. But they're not nearly as. It used to be only the big beasts were out there. All the big guys. And so it's much easier. It's a little easier now for the mid to small ones. Okay, let me change my charts here. All in sync. All right, so some of the major causes or failures of ERP systems. So failure to involve affected employees in planning and development. I think I don't know. I think I talked about this a little. That's what makes me. Did I already go over this stuff? I don't know. Anyway, affected. One of the things I am a big proponent of whenever I'm doing an implementation, ERP, any kind of a program. I think I may have spoke to this a time or two. I am super. You have to involve the people who are actually doing the job day in and day out. And when you don't, get them involved, a lot of times you build things or you develop things and make them, work based on some historical knowledge or other things. I get really frustrated when you don't involve the people who are doing it day and out. Who are the people who know how to use the program the most? The people who are, hands-on running with the old legacy or whatever systems you have. So you got to talk to them and have them involved and tell you what. And my basic practice and what I would teach my analysts to go and talk to them is like, go talk to them and ask them what works, or what works. Well, first, how do you do your job? Tell me about the job and what's the processes you go through. Tell me what works really well, things you are, and features or functions that you like really well. And then tell me, what are the things that, man, make you want to jump off a building, or, make you suicidal because the system doesn't work, and get you angry because, what are those things? You want to capture all of that from the people who do it, because they're the ones who are, that's what you want to build in. And to whatever degree you can change things in your ERP, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. You want to build and try to and help the employees in those, especially the things that don't work well. So that's very, very important. I can't tell you how many times I've seen, and I've been in the, where I say, let's get the people who are doing it, and they say, no, they're workers. I need them to work. We're going to lose productivity if you're taking them offline to do, to help you with this implementation of this. And there's been times I fight I fight pretty hard for that. And then I think, they say, no, not going to give it to you. And, somebody with more power and, in the food chain in a business. And so I don't get the opportunity to use those people. And so you use people and they say, well, the supervisor or this manager knows how to do it. They did it, and then you find out they haven't been hands-on in 10 years. And what ends up happening is those people, well, I think it works like this, but they don't say it that way, but they tell you how they believe, and they just are not as effective. And I've been burned by that. And then you build the process, you build the program, you put the application out there, and you get an inferior product because you didn't use the people hands-on and the people that know what's going on with it. So I'm somewhat on. Okay, thank you. I am very much on board. I just looked at the chat. With you, you've got to do that with people on. Very, very important thing to me. So the next thing, trying to do too much too fast in the conversion process. Yeah, that's a lot of times when you the conversion process is, I have an old one. My favorite, one of the easiest ones to talk about is accounting. So you have an old accounting system, and or in the ERP, it's all the things. But let's just take a portion of it, and you try to do it too fast, and you convert it over, and you don't do all the right steps, testing, and changing your data over. And that's the last bullet. Maybe I'll talk about that as well at the same time. One of the hardest things to do is you have data in your old system, and especially accounting, you have to take that old data and you need it in the new one for reporting purposes and those kinds of things. And so that data conversion is really important. And I've seen a lot of times, you just say, you take certain fields, you just map them into the new one, and you just move the data over there. Easy to say, hard to do, because my experience has always been, as you're converting the data from one to the other, some of the data fields are not used the way they were defined in the old system. Or you may have something like there's data in the old system that doesn't map there, or that doesn't go into the new one, or vice versa. There was, because it's an older system, they didn't keep track of certain things, and in the new one there's all kinds of data that you need in there to make it work right. Well, but it didn't exist here, so now what do you do? And so it's all those things that you run into. And management, non-IT management types, a lot of times, that's easy. I had that experience just recently, and it turns out it was in the sheriff's department, where managers like, this is easy. You should be able to do that in 2 weeks. Not so easy. So it was their records management system, and it was a disaster from the get-go. And my understanding is they're getting rid of it now because of the poor implementation. But we ran into that. We got really pushed to do a very fast conversion. And that didn't help things at all. Insufficient training, one of the things, and this kind of maybe goes, the 1 and 3 kind of, are kind of complementary. A lot of times if you have the employees involved with it, by virtue of having them involved, you kind of train them and show them how it works. So having them, at least a handful of people in the training of it, they can now they're kind of as you hit the ground running when you implement, they kind of have an understanding of the system. And so you train them. And as other people, you bring the other people on, you go live and you have, more people on it. They can be, help you out, train the trainer kind of thing. There, you have people who understand it and can help other people learn. So training, always important. Sometimes overlooked. A lot of times you'll hear vendors, no, this is so intuitive. You just turn it on. Everybody's going to just jump right on this. And they're minimal training at most. But there's always a need. My experience has been there is some level of training that needs to be done, regardless of what the smart people tell you is the easiest. This is the vendor especially just turn it on. What's the saying? Take to it like ducks in water or something. I don't know, whatever the saying is. But always plan for some level of training in your when you go live, when you implement your ERP system. And this is a lot of these things. I'm kind of talking generically or generally. This is very common for just implementing a single application versus an ERP. All right, let's move along. Go to the next one here. All right. So what types of implementation do we have? Let me change over here. There's three approaches for this. We're going to talk about cloud in a second. So this is on-premise. On-premise, if you're not familiar with the term, I don't know if I've talked about it too much. On-premise usually means hosted by me on my servers in my data center, not remote or in some cloud configuration. I have the servers. It's on my network. It's within my organization. So that's on-premise. All right, so the first approach here is the vanilla approach. And as one of the things I kind of talked to a little bit maybe, the vanilla approach, which I've only seen that term in textbooks. I've never seen it in the real world. The word you will hear probably more in an organization or by IT folks is the out of the box approach. Vanilla approach means vanilla out of the box. You buy an application, you put it on your servers, and you just turn it on and you use it vanilla, very much out of the box, exactly as it is. You don't make any modifications to it. It's just as the vendor or whoever owns the product, just as they wrote it. So in an ERP system, as you can imagine, these big beasts, and going back to what I said a few minutes ago, is so you just take this thing and chances are, let's pick on my friends, the accountants. So they are used to doing their accounting in a certain way. Well, there are certain things. GAAP forces the accountants to do certain ways, but the way way things get transferred from one person to another, there are unique things, and organizations do them slightly different. So now all of a sudden your processes may have to change, and it'll drive your employees crazy. So that's problematic in a lot of cases. But if you use it out of the box, that is what it means. Just straight out of the box, exactly how the program runs, no changes to it. Versus the next one, custom approach, is okay. I'm going to take it, and like I said, a lot of times your organization doesn't. Its processes, the order and the ways you do things, isn't exactly the way it is out of the box. So you have to do some customization. And most programs, applications today, they allow for a certain degree of customization just naturally, and it works well. But then there becomes some customizations that are you're pushing the program was not intended to work that way, and so you need to get the vendor involved. You say, hey, we like the way that you process these things, but can you modify it so we can do this, because this is how we do things in our business, and it just would not it'd make life easier for us for whatever reasons you want to customize it. When you start getting into those kinds of customization, it becomes kind of dangerous in that so now they have to write a specific code segment or something and replace it in the original package. What ends up happening is, okay, now you're marching merrily along, and the organization puts out something, the vendor puts out a new change to it, and they have to have a cut, it's an upgrade or a change to the way the application works. And so in that case, what ends up happening is, okay, now there's an upgrade. Oh, how does that fit with the how does that fit with the changes that were made, the customization that were made? And so it's like, oh no, well, you can't just do the upgrade. You got to do the upgrade, and then you got to redo the customization. And that's where it becomes problematic, because now you also have to pay them probably to make that remake that customization based on that upgrade. So and that can be very problematic, and over time, if you do a lot of that customization, it becomes more and more costly. And it's, at some point you have so many customizations, like, well, we can't do this upgrade because it's going to cost us too much money to get those customizations redone, and we just can't afford it. And over time, that becomes very, very problematic. Now you're way behind on the whatever the current version of the application is. So there's a balancing act in there, and that's kind of what this last thing is. You got to kind of look at it and say, personally, I don't know, unless it's a very trivial application. I'm not very familiar. There's always some level of customization that I've had to deal with, not the vanilla or out of the box. And so you've got to look at those customization things and weigh it out. If it's something that's easy to customize, the application takes into account, yeah, it's probably not a big deal. But you got to really watch what's going on with that, because once again, it can get very costly. And that's what the best of breed. Sometimes you try to do, I don't know if I'd call it those terms, you got to find that middle ground. Do some, customization, but try to keep it out of the box as much as you can. And sometimes, quite frankly, we have, in my organizations, we have done some customizations and found out, that they were painful, but they were helpful nonetheless. So anyway, that's one of the things you have to look out for. All right, I got some background noise there. I don't know who it is. All right, so let's move right along here. All right, so now that was on premise as it is, so it's in my organization. Now we're going to jump in and talk about cloud. Once again, cloud-based services. In a lot of cases, the application is running on somebody else's computer, in a hosted environment, out somewhere else in the cloud. You're probably familiar with cloud-based storage. This is mainly running in the cloud, so it's not running on your servers. You're running over your network into some other location. Some of the biggies: Azure with Microsoft, or AWS, Amazon Web Services, I think the AWS stands for. Terrible with acronyms. There's too many of them. And so anyway, that's what a web-based service is. 3 advantages of doing it in a web-based service. I'm gonna my chart over here. Sorry. The advantages: the system can be used from any location on the internet for interact. Yeah, that's very true. You can access it very easily across your internet, and it's easier to get to it. A lot of time, you just point to it, and you can, just like you would from inside your organization. I don't consider this a biggie. A lot of times, if you have a knowledgeable, diligent kind of IT types, a lot of our applications we had to run external, especially in law enforcement. You got guys out on patrol running all over the place. They're not on your network. They're out running all over the place. Most of our functions were, so we were able to locate, access things securely from all over the place. So this is true, but I wouldn't call it a huge benefit of it. Although if you're a small organization and that's how you want to run, there is some overhead, and how you secure and make that happen. That is internally, if you don't have people that are good at doing that, this would be a lot easier to do. Next one: cloud companies using cloud-based ERPs avoid initial hardware and software. That is and that's the big sale point of using things in the cloud. You don't have to buy servers. You don't have to have a room necessarily for data center. You don't have all those same typical price. You don't paying for electricity. You're not paying for as much air conditioning and the facility kind of stuff. So all those costs, especially if you're a small company, you can't afford to get that entire infrastructure. This is a good way to go, because that upfront cost can be daunting in a small or medium-sized organization. And then the last thing: cloud-based are scalable, meaning it's possible to extend them. The scalable things mean, as we talked about earlier, one of the things is on demand kind of stuff. Once again, if I have my business cycle is such that I have, it's not just flat. We sell this, amount of clothes or amount of whatever it is you do throughout the year, but there's certain periods, and then your high demand, and then you kind of slow down your demand, like you use the example of toys. Right now, we're in the kind of ramping up for toys for Christmas, or Christmas kind of stuff. So their business cycle is right now it's ramping up, and then in January it falls off to a lot lower, a lot of returns and all those kinds of things. So those seasonality kinds of things, cloud-based solutions are usually very good. You're paying somebody else. You don't own this equipment, and you say, "Hey, I want to scale up. I want to get, okay, it's the Christmas time. I need more processing. I need more memory. I need more resources, more infrastructure." Well, in a cloud-based system, they're very much, and this is a big advantage of them, they're able to, okay, I'm going to give you more resources. I'm going to give you more processing time. I'm going to give you more storage. And so they ramp you up. And then all of a sudden, when your cycle goes, the other way and goes down, okay, we're going to scale back. And now I'm going to use less resources. And that's usually the biggest benefit is, as you scale up, they charge you more. And as you scale down, you go down. Whereas if you're on premise, you have your own stuff, you got the stuff there. You can't, it's going to be there. It's going to run. You're still going to use the power. You're still going to use the air conditioning. The fundamental infrastructure still is going to cost you. All right, so those are some of the major advantages of the cloud-based stuff. All right, let's go to the next one. 3 disadvantages of cloud-based. Yeah. All right. It's not clear whether cloud-based are secure on more than on premise. One thing is you're kind of at the you're at the whim of, or the person who it is. And I would say, if you're going with the big guys, the AWS, the Microsoft Azure, if you're going with the big guys, they're probably pretty good at security. If you're going with a smaller company, you probably should check a little more. I would check any of them. So we did a little bit when I was at the Sheriff's Department. We started playing. We had a few cloud-based stuff. My understanding is they're going much more cloud-based now. But you got to be careful. Make sure that your stuff is secure. Especially, we had stuff, about law enforcement kinds of things. Let's say you're a hospital and you decide to go cloud-based. You've got that HIPAA thing that's hanging over your head. You got to make sure that wherever you're storing your stuff, the organization, your cloud provider, is in fact making things secure. Because I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe you are held responsible for the data, not the person that is the actual I think there is some protection. I don't know how that works. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to worry about that. But nonetheless, you need to make sure your data is secure, especially if you have an environment where you have issues with privacy and security. Companies that adopt cloud-based ERP sacrifice their control over. Getting back to kind of that, that modification thing. If you're running in the cloud, and I say I want a customization, I want it to be, I want to, the way we do, we do this step and then this one and this one, and you kind of do, I don't like. We want. They are much less likely to make a customization before that for those kinds of in something that's in the cloud, because their cloud-based system has to run for multiple different users. Much less likely for them to do that. And one of the other things that does that, one of the other things that's kind of in that vein as well, and I, to some degree, like in, all the places I worked for elected officials when I was in the county 20 plus years. And I think there was some comfort in the elected officials' mind, is that, hey, if our systems go down and we need that right away, they could reach out and, put their hands around my throat and say, "Hey, computer boy, get that stuff running right away." It never happened. But I mean, although I did get I have along the line had a few phone calls where they sounded pretty tense, and they're like, "We need this going now. What's going on?" And, they sound like they're ready to kill you. But when you're running in the cloud, and I have seen this, you call up and you're one of them. We got 1,000 customers, man. We'll get to you when when we get it fixed. And that importance level is not as high because somebody else is out. you don't have control over the resources. For me, I could start calling the people, all my smart people that work for me. Hey, this isn't working. Can you get this up? I had more control and the ability to get them to do what I need to do. And yeah, that I think uh, yeah, those last two, I kind of, very much the same kind of stuff. I think I kind of talked both of these as I was going through that. All right, moving on. The next, okay, here we go. These are more examples. Let me move to my next chart. The ERP support business functions across the board. The whole goal of an ERP is to do that. And if you remember from the last time, that chart of all functions, the big part, I started out, I think, in chapter two-ish, where we talked about how we have these silos of things. Well, that's what the ERP is getting away from. It's getting away from the one, just doing, the functional area and this functional area and not integrated. ERPs are made for support of the entire business. And it does all these things. Procurement means buying and stuff. And I think I might talk about that in the next chart. But all these things, I think actually this is kind of a lead in. We only have a couple of charts left. So like I said, this is going to be pretty quick today. All right, so let's just jump to the next one. I think I'm going to talk more here anyway. All right, so the year for procurement, production, and fulfillment. Production being procurement, excuse me. The first one, procurement. I got to, I'm building things like, when I'm in the classroom, I like to talk about the desktop machines. I'm going to build a whole bunch of desktops. So I got to buy the cases, the motherboard, the, memory, or everything, all the stuff that goes in there. And so as the procurement is, I got to go out and put orders in. I gotta, I gotta do all those things to get them. I got to talk to vendors and all the procurement, buying my parts in order for it, to do it. And then, when they come in, I got to inventory it, and I got to, I got to store it. But then the next piece, and so ERP systems help you with that. A lot of, some of the more sophisticated ones. Let's say you have very sophisticated whatever it is you're building, it's got a lot of little screws, bolts, and got a lot of little, maybe if maybe you build your own motherboard, so you've got resistors and all these different parts, tiny little parts. Well, a lot of times the procurement process, it works with your next one, the production, and says how many, in order to do this, I need these many resistors of this type. I need this kind of board. I need those stuff. And so that procurement process piece of the ERP knows all what's in it and make sure that you have inventory for all the things, so that when you go to the next step, the production, it hands it off right away and says, okay, I know we have all this, or we're running short, and we can start, the production. It makes sure you can get things there. So production is that next piece. I bought all the stuff I need. I got it all right there for me and kept track of it and made sure we had. Now we're putting stuff together, and it can help you schedule production based on, and that's usually kind of tied in directly with something, your marketing and sales. Marketing or sales just sold, I'm back to my PC example, my desktop machines. Now, let's, we just sold 1,000 units. Well, according to inventory, we have enough stuff to make all of it. So we start building it, and, it can schedule, how it can tell people, okay, we need to go get these parts and send them to the production line. So it does all that and can help you with the production aspects. And then we get to the last piece, the fulfillment. Now that we've made it, and depending on how you work, you can, production sometimes stops. Okay, I have a desktop machine that's ready to go, and we just put that on the shelf. Some organizations, how you do it. Well, production doesn't end until it's in a box, sealed up, ready to go, and then we put it on the shelf until somebody buys it. Sometimes, my understanding is some organizations, production ends when it's just made. Fulfillment starts as, okay, we got an order, now we got to put it in a box. But that's a business cycle, how you do how you do your processes. But then, you pull it from stock. We make sure it's all packaged nice, and looks like it's going to be okay. And we label, ship, and do all those kinds of things. And usually in there too, there's the return process if something's broken. So, but basically, yeah, as you can see, this is kind of the ERP process and how it helps you all throughout all different steps. And then the last piece, inter-organizational processes, ERPs and SCMs and CRMs. Inter-organization, once again, is within your organization. Inter, like this word is between different organizations. Sometimes, one of the things we want to do is we have processes with other organizations. SCM, supply chain management, which I believe there's a class in that. We're going to go a little bit. I believe SCM is the next chapter. We're going to talk SCM and CRM, supply chain management and customer resource management. But SCM, the whole process of buying, that the whole cycle of how we do our manufacturing or building or our whatever our product or service is. But in part of that, in our SCM, we may have an interorganizational process that says, okay, I talked about, that procurement part of it. One of the things we do, we have to procure all the different parts. Well, we might have our SCM talk to, the cases, whoever makes our cases that we have, the exterior case that's on it. And this thing says, oh, we got orders for this, or our current stock is low. I need some more. How much, give me a bid for another 1,000 of these things or whatever. So those inter-organization between two different organizations can talk to it. Their SCM part of it can talk to the other organization and say, give me a quote, or how much is it going to cost? How long will it take to get it? And those kinds of things. So they can talk between. And same thing with CRM, like customer relations. Customer relations, just basically managing if how many, who buys what, how many, if you have complaints. And I'm going to talk that, like I said, that's in chapter 11, and I'm going to go into that in much more detail next. Probably I'll start on Tuesday with that. So I'm not going to go belabor that too much here. And then the last chart, like I said, we are going to be done either. Just kind of, this is out of the book, obviously, figure 10.8. Let me get this guy. My chart doesn't much here anyway. So this is just kind of a chart, kind of showing how these processes are integrated and talk to each other across the board. And those are the three different, things we just kind of ran through anyway. Procurement, production, maybe.
Hi, I need to get an appointment for a head shave and a face shave and beard.
And so, and I'm sorry, it makes me laugh. So we have three different things: the procurement, production, and fulfillment. And so, the three different things. So, the procurement process, we have to ask, do we have enough goods? Do we, can we warehouse them? And then we have to pay for them. This is all, and these are all in an ERP system. They're all integrated with each other. So, you can see multiple different functions in the organization. So that's the benefit of the ERP. Then the next, we have the production where, where somebody asks to this is kind of interesting. This is a bad, in my world, this is a bad flow, because there should be arrows pointing between everything. They kind of started with the arrows up here, and then they don't have them down here. It's like, it's a poorly drawn, this is like a process flow, but anyway. So then, you see in production, do we have them? We authorize, we have sufficient raw materials. If we don't, this is interesting. If we don't, it should go up to the procurement. We have to buy more raw materials. If we do, we make them, we get them from warehouse, we produce them, and then we send them, so yeah, this is whoever drew this probably hasn't done too much in the real world. But nonetheless, this kind of shows how the different processes go across different organizational boundaries within an organization. All right, so that is the end of, I believe, yeah, that is the last slide of this chapter. Like I said, pretty short. Nothing left. Any questions on any of this stuff on ERPs and the information systems within an organization? If not, just a reminder, make sure you work with your teams to come up with a topic if you haven't already. Start strategizing, make sure you understand and know when your date is for when you have to put it out on this discussion board. And once again, my homework assignment is I need to make sure that I put the discussion link out there. And then once again, I will be working on, I probably will make an adjustment to the exam. So, and make sure you do the chapter 10 quiz by Sunday at midnight again. Other than that, I think I am good to go. I don't think I think I've covered all bases. All right. All right. Well, everybody, if there's no questions or anything, everybody have a great day. Have a good weekend. And I will see you. I will be back in the classroom on Tuesday as usual.
Thank you, Professor.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Appreciate it.